Hey guys, it's Kim Dao here. Welcome back to my channel. 2 weeks ago, I made a video on what I missed about Japan, and I mentioned that I stopped making Japan travel videos for a while just because I thought it wasn't the right time to do it with everything going on. So a lot of you guys recently have asked me to do some again, and whilst I cannot travel to Japan right now, I can still talk about my experiences. I really miss doing chilled out videos like this where I just sit down and talk to you guys, and I think it got to the point where I was constantly trying to push out all of these crazy big Japan videos that would take me months to edit, and I kind of stress myself out too much. So I really want to maybe make this a weekly thing where I just pick a topic that is perhaps Japan related or anything really. I made a post on my Instagram story and asked you guys to send me questions that are Japan travel related, and I've got some really good ones. There was one that I picked out which I thought would be really interesting to talk about. Can you travel to Japan on a low budget? The answer? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you guys how I did that today. So 10 years ago, I went to Japan for the very first time. Man, I feel old. I was 20 years old back then and I didn't have much money. I was still a full-time student working part-time jobs in fast food, retail, you know, the usual part-time jobs to save money. Going to Japan was a dream for me back then, and I always wanted to go ever since I was like 14 years old. If you want to find out how I saved money to travel to Japan, you can watch my How I Saved Money video I made like 2 years ago. But in today's video, I'm going to focus on budget trips. Now keep in mind, times have changed and are always changing, so what I experienced back then might not be the case now. And also, even though I make a lot of videos about Japan and have been there many times, I don't know everything about Japan. So if you're planning a trip or are planning to move there, sure, you can listen to some of the tips I will give you, but it's also very important to do your own research as well. So I'm going to give you guys like approximate numbers on what I spent when I traveled on these trips to give you guys a better idea on how much you want to budget for your trip. My very first trip was in 2010 and it was a 6-week trip to Japan. Overall, for everything, I spent about $5,000. Flights, food, accommodation, transport, shopping, everything. First off, flights. You can find cheap flights to Japan, and as years went on, flights actually got cheaper because of all the competition with different airlines. Of course, right now, it's not the right time to be looking at flights, but when we can, these are my tips. So subscribe to emails from airlines. They will notify you when there is a sale. I usually like using Google Flights. That way you can see a whole different range of airlines, different routes, how much more it will cost if I took a certain route or if I wanted to visit multiple countries. It's a really good way to get variety of different options. From there, I will play around with dates. It will tell you when the prices are most expensive. There are always times that are more expensive than others, such as Easter, Christmas, or school holidays. I've had times where I paid only maybe $600 to $800 for a flight to Japan on Singapore Airlines, which is pretty good. That's return from Australia. And there are even cheaper flights if you choose to fly with Jetstar or AirAsia. I haven't flown with them before to Japan, but I've seen deals where you pay for only one flight and you get another flight for free. So you can take someone with you and you each can pay half the price of a ticket. I've seen some where you only pay for a flight one way and get the return free. Deals like that come up all the time, so you just have to keep an eye on them and also read terms and conditions. Next is accommodation. So for accommodation, yeah, there are ways where you can save a lot. My first trip to Japan, I was being so cheap. I remember that I didn't want to spend more than $25 a night on accommodation. And of course, the only way to get a price that cheap is to stay in youth hostels. We were traveling in a group of 5 people at the time, and usually if you book in a group, you get better discounts as you would share a room with bunk beds. The hostels we stayed in, some were really good, some were just terrible. So you get what you pay for, I guess. One of the hostels, I remember, we had to share a bathroom with like 10 people. We would be fighting for the showers every day with another group. And also I remember the hot water wouldn't work sometimes, and this was in the middle of winter, so we took like cold showers. We all shared one room, 5 of us, and we had like 2 bunk beds and 1 single bed. The place was a little bit dirty, though I think we paid like $22 a person a night there, which is really cheap. And that was in Tokyo. In Osaka, I remember that we stayed in a hostel that unfortunately has closed down now, but it was run by a family. I remember paying around $22 a night for that place as well. Same deal, we shared a bedroom, but they had a lot of bathrooms available. Very clean, and the family that owned the place was amazing. You just have to do a lot of research, read reviews on multiple websites if you are picky, but back then there wasn't much information because this was like 10 years ago. So these days there is a lot more out there. Now back then Airbnb wasn't really a thing, but that is something to consider, especially if you are traveling in a group. I used Airbnb in Tokyo like 2 years ago when we were traveling in a group of 4. I can't remember exactly how much it cost, but I think it was like maybe $40 to $50 a night. So more expensive, but it was a lot more spacious, private and convenient. You can also get cheaper budget hotels as well. I've stayed in some where you only paid like $50 to $75 a night, and it depends on the area you want to stay in, obviously. If you want to stay in the middle of Shibuya or Shinjuku, it's going to be harder to find something under $100 a night, but you just have to research. I can maybe go on into more detail on how to pick accommodation for Japan in another video, as yeah, there's a lot of information, but you can definitely cut costs with hotels as well. You just have to think of what you value more: convenience, luxury, or price. When I first traveled to Japan, the only thing I cared about was price. So obviously I sacrificed convenience and luxury. I was just a student traveling and I had all the time in the world. Nowadays, I care much more about time, so I would rather stay in a place that is convenient and that is somewhat decent. Like, I don't need a 5-star hotel, but I do need it to be comfortable enough for me. So since I'm sacrificing price, I will probably be paying like $150 to $200 a night for a room, which actually isn't that bad. Next is food. Now, I know some people are going to get so mad at me for this because yeah, I understand. When you go to a different country, you want to experience as much of their food and culture as possible. Now, I wanted to save money so bad, and also because I was so scared of running out of money, I would try and limit myself to only spend $10 per meal. And of course, because the budget is quite low, I would stick to buying convenience store food, which I mean, at the time was great. It was cheap, it filled me up. I still managed to enjoy some authentic Japanese food on my first trip, but I remember I didn't go to any fancy restaurants. But let's be honest, I'm not really a foodie. I have very simple tastes. So yeah, when I was budgeting on food, I think I probably only spent $20 to $30 a day on it. I also ate at a lot of Japanese fast food chains like Matsuya, Sukiya, Yoshinoya. I think I could get a full meal for just like $5 there. Now, when you go to Japan, I don't recommend you living off convenience store food because it's not the healthiest and there is so much more better food options out there. But if you got a budget, you got a budget. The great thing about Japan is that a lot of restaurants outside of it, they usually have the plastic food samples so you can see what you'll be getting when you order your meal. If you are conscious about how much you're spending on food, just check the menus before you go into the restaurant, or even look it up online. Sometimes they upload the menu as well. So next, transport. There is a lot I can say about this, but I'll try and keep it short. So trains in Japan, yes, are convenient, but it's not cheap. There have been times where I was so cheap that I didn't want to pay for the train, so I just walked. It's free and you get exercise. Of course, if you're in Japan on like a 1-week trip and you have limited time, you want to use your time wisely. So yeah, you probably should take the train if you want to see lots of places. Some ways you can save money on trains is by buying a 1-day pass. I know the Metro does this where you pay like $5 for a ticket and you can use it as many times as you want all day as long as you're only using the Metro. So plan your trip around that. So you are only using the Metro line. Something I quickly want to say is that if you are changing train companies, it actually costs quite a bit of money. So for example, if you are taking the JR train to one station and then you have to transfer to a Metro, you have to pay the minimum amount for each company, which is I think like maybe 200 yen, so around $2 each. So it might cost you like $4. But if you decide to stick to just JR, for example, and maybe it drops you off at a train station a little bit more further out, it might cost you like half the price. So just use Google Maps. Seriously, it tells you like how much it's going to cost. It's going to tell you how far you have to walk. It's amazing. Something else I want to talk about quickly is what if you want to go between different cities, for example, Tokyo to Osaka. So by bullet train, it's about 2.5 hours and it's around $140 one way. A return trip is $280. Ouch. That is the most convenient way and fastest way. Another way you can go is by flying over. You can actually get some pretty cheap flights, and I remembered I paid around $100 for a return flight between Tokyo and Osaka. But keep in mind, if you are flying, you have to get to the airport. Most budget flights leave from Narita Airport. So going from Tokyo to Narita Airport is going to cost you like $20 to $30 on the train. Plus you have to get there earlier to check in, so there's a bit of stress there. When you land in Osaka, most flights land at Kansai International Airport, which is about an hour away from Osaka City. It costs about $30 to get into the city by train. So that's like $60 you spent on trains. And then the return trip is the same. So that's like $120 on just trains if you are flying. Add that to the flight ticket and that's like $220. Still cheaper than the bullet train, but you're using up so much more time. So once again, it's up to you. You can ask yourself, do you prefer to save money or time? I've flown between Tokyo and Osaka multiple times when I was trying to save money, and yeah, it definitely did help because it adds up. Now, another way to travel between Tokyo to Osaka is by bus. This is the cheapest way. I took the night bus from Shinjuku Station to Osaka once, and I'm never doing it again. It was around $50 one way. It takes about 8 hours. You leave at nighttime and you arrive at Osaka Station at like 5 to 6 a.m. in the morning. Such a painful trip because they stop like every hour in case people need to go to the toilet, and every time they do, they make an announcement waking up everyone on the bus. If you can handle that, great. I definitely couldn't. Though I also took the bus from Osaka to Hiroshima once, and I believe that only cost me like $30. That bus actually wasn't too bad because they had like one of those head covers so you can block out light and people. I think that was called the Willa Express bus. So look up the bus companies. There are quite a lot of them out there. Now, if you are planning on going to lots of cities in 1 week, get the JR Pass. And this question I get asked all the time. Should I get a JR Pass? And my answer is always, I don't know, where do you plan to go? Do your research. I know people who just bought a JR Pass and only went from Tokyo to Osaka on the bullet train, and I'm like, why? For a bullet train to go from Tokyo to Osaka, it's $140. A JR Pass is $300. Why would you pay $300 when the train ticket's only $140? It doesn't make sense. I also get asked, I plan to stay in Tokyo all the time. Should I get a JR Pass? Why? Look at the train ticket prices. Are you going to spend $300 in a week in Tokyo? Most likely not. Just write down a list of places where you plan to visit in Japan, then look up the prices to see how much it will cost to get to each place, and then yeah, figure out from there if you want a JR Pass or not. And let me tell you, most of the time it's not worth it. I have been to Japan so many times and I have only gotten the JR Pass twice in 10 years. The last thing I want to talk about is shopping. So, alright, you want to shop in Japan. That really depends on how much money you want to spend. I don't really have many tips on shopping in Japan besides the obvious look for sales. You can get tax-free, which is pretty cool. In most stores, if you spend over a certain amount, usually it's like $50 to $100, you can get tax-free if you present your passport with your tourist visa inside. You get 10% off your purchase. You actually get the money back on the spot, which is awesome. So my trips when I went to Japan earlier on, the first trip, like I said, it was 6 weeks and I spent about $5,000 Australian. My second and third trip to Japan, I remembered I spent about a month in Japan, and for everything together, I think I spent around $2,500 to $3,000. You can definitely go to Japan and experience it, have fun on a budget. There are many things you can do for free as well, so if you guys want me to make a video about that, maybe I can. But yeah, those are pretty much all the tips I have for budgeting on a trip. So thank you so much guys for watching. Just before I end this video, I just want to quickly address something. So you guys might be a bit confused on what's happened on my channel a few days ago with a huge amount of new subscribers coming in. So I thought I owe everyone an explanation. With my YouTube, a lot of my videos get re-uploaded by other channels without my permission. Now videos take a long time to make, and the video that gets re-uploaded the most on my channel is 100 Things to Do in Tokyo. It took me like 4 years to film, 1 year to edit. I had to color grade the footage, which took a long time. It cost a lot of money to make that as well because I had to pay for everything in that video. So whenever YouTube detects that a channel has used my video without permission, I take it down. And you can do it quite easily because you can do it all in one go. As you can see, I have had to take down over 500 videos, and it happens really often. Sometimes I will receive an angry response from the channel owner saying, how dare I take down the video, when literally they just re-uploaded my whole entire video on their channel claiming it as their own. But recently one channel, Top D Impactor, emailed me and he was being so nice. Actually, he was the first person who was really nice about this. That's why it caught my attention. He used parts of my 100 Things to Do in Tokyo video and he apologized for his mistake. He was being very sincere about it. So of course, as human beings, we all make mistakes, and he owned up to it. He said sorry and I forgave him. He was like a really nice guy and was respectful, and I love that. He received 1 strike, so he asked if I could retract it and said he could recommend my channel to his audience, and I was like, sure, okay. I sent off an email to YouTube to retract the claim, and he encouraged his audience to subscribe. So that's why there's a huge influx of viewers coming from his channel, which I'm so grateful for. So thank you so much, Gabriel. I did not expect you to do that. Like, I actually thought that you were just going to do a quick mention at the end of a video, and I was totally okay with that. He even said if he visits Japan or Australia, he can bring some gifts from Mexico, which I thought was so sweet. I've always wanted to visit Mexico too, so maybe one day I can also bring you gifts from Australia and Japan. But yeah, that's all what I wanted to say today. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Please thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. Follow me on my vlogging channel if you want to see what I get up to in my everyday life. I also have a gaming channel where I make Animal Crossing videos if you're interested in that. Follow me on all my social media, which will be linked down below. And if you guys have any questions relating to Japan travel, moving to Japan, or I don't know, just life advice in general, then let me know in the comment box down below and I will try and film these videos weekly for you. Anyway, thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!